On today's podcast, I had Krissy come on. She helps people around Southworth and a whole bunch of things, and she lists it all at the very start of the podcast. But she does amazing work with everything she does. I've experienced a little bit before with my own self-worth issues and, breaking them and healing them. And yeah, and this podcast was just a fantastic conversation about, as we said, self-worth, being that permission piece of, working, helping, everyone else heal, and including yourself is the most important bit. But yeah, not to get too much into detail with this podcast, but other than that, hope you enjoyed today's episode. Cheers. Hey, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm so amazing. So amazing. Had such an epic morning on the Sunshine Coast. So yeah, feeling good. How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm really good. I had a really good day because I disconnected from just technology for a couple of hours. So really connected with myself and, sat down, read my book, went for a walk along the beach, and yeah, just try to honor myself and ground myself today.
Yum. So beautiful.
It's awesome. So I'll get you to introduce yourself and what you're about, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm Krissy Jewell. If we want to talk labels, I'm an intuitive coach, healer, earth medicine practitioner, trainer, speaker, author, all the labels. But all round, if we can sort of nut that down, I basically just help people come back home to themselves, to connect in with the truth of who they are, to the love and embodiment of their soul, their true essence, before media and so society and schooling and parents told us we had to be somebody else. So that's the essence of like everything that I do and breathe and embody myself. I'm a big firm believer that you lead by example, and being a mama of a nearly 17-year-old boy, it's been really important for me, particularly as I've become more conscious over the last probably 5 years, is to really embody that piece of like, who do I want him to be, and am I embodying that as a human, as a soul? And if I'm not, then how do I expect him to do that? So he's been such a beautiful accountability piece for me to really show up the way I do. Yeah.
It's like awesome that you say that, because that is so true, especially with children. That if we're expecting them to show up in a certain way, we have to show up in that certain way as well. Otherwise, it's not going to get reciprocal back.
100%. And how do they know what it looks like if they've never seen it? Like, how do they know what's normal or what's expected of them if they don't know what that looks like, how it sounds, what it feels like, because we're not modeling that to them. So we need to model that to them. We need to show them, this is how it looks, this is how it sounds, this is how it feels. And we get to be the permission piece for them to be all of that from authenticity, as opposed to just wearing this mask saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to show up this way, and just actually be in our truth.
Yeah, that's 100% right. It's like, demonstrate by actions, because kids watch actions a lot more than they watch words, especially from the younger age.
Yeah, totally. And my parents used to be very much about do as I say, not as I do. And it's like, well, it makes no bloody sense to me. Like, do as I say, not as I do. Well, why would I do as you say if you're not doing what you say? Like, that's just stupid.
Yeah, it's a saying that I've never understood either, and it's
complete contradiction. Yeah. You be better than what I am. Okay, cool. And if you're not, then I'm going to punish you. Oh, that makes so much fucking sense.
And it's like, how am I supposed to achieve that if I have no idea how to do it, or no role models how to accomplish that?
100%. If I've never seen how it's done, then what do I know? How do I know what it looks like? How do I know what that actually is, particularly as a child when we're still building our cognitive functionality, we're building the model of our world, we're trying to establish our emotions and how we feel in our body, and There's so many things happening that we don't know. And then we're told, we're kind of imposed on, like, you have to do this, you have to show up this way. It's like, okay, cool. Can you give me the manual? Can you show me?
Yeah, it's exactly like best way explained. It's like the school system. It's like you go through school for 12 years and then you're expected to know what life is like at 18, and it's completely different to the school system.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And if you don't fit in within that model of like what they pose upon you that success looks like, go and get a job, go and have a family, go to uni. If you don't fit into that model, then instantly you've got this, I'm not good enough. I'm not successful. What am I going to do with my life? I'm a failure. Imagine people walking around at 18 thinking they're a failure because they don't fit into what the school told them life looks like after school. That's fucking everybody.
Yeah, it's so true, because we look as in the school system, failure is kind of, the worst thing ever. And, you get this label that you're not good enough, you're not going to make it if you fail through this. And it's all even also talking to like kids' sports to say, if you don't win the game, your parents are kind of quiet towards you in the car. But if you win the game, your parents are, talking about the game, how well it went, and a bunch of other things. And so you build up this construct that you're not good enough because of these slight different things you get told, shown, demonstrated through childhood.
100%. And even on that, society and school poses this picture about what success looks like and what being good enough looks like. Oh, you got a C, that's not good enough. Why didn't you get an A, or why didn't you get a B plus, or whatever? Like whatever their model is. And you didn't get, a blue ribbon in sports day, or you didn't come first. And it's like, well, hang on a second. If you did the absolute best that you possibly could, why are we not celebrating that? Why are we not because the thing is, at school, you have to do everything. You have to do drama and sports and maths and English and social science and all these things. And you're not going to be amazing at everything. No one's genius is to be great at everything. And that's not celebrated at school. And when you find your genius, that's not celebrated at school because you're not excelling in every other area. And so I think too, parents being stuck in that model don't actually know how to support their children in helping them understand and celebrate their genius, because they're so focused on all the other areas that they're not amazing at. And they've got self-worth issues as well. And then it just feeds this spiral and construct of not good enough, not worthy, failure, and so on and so on.
Yes, this continuous pattern that works its way down through each generation of not feeling good enough because you're not meeting the status quo, you're not good at everything, and a bunch of other things. And this is why I went through school feeling like I was, dumb, because I wasn't good at, I guess, English and a bunch like science and all that. But then it's weird too, because when I was 19, I started reading, and then I realized I could read and taught myself how to read. Mm-hmm. And it's just opened my whole world up, and then also learned too that stuff I was getting taught in school, I was not interested in at all.
And you'll probably never use it anyway.
Yeah.
Like algebra, or some algebra, you get trigonometry, like stuff like that. Like, what? Yeah. And as you talk about, how it trickles down through the generations, and it gets progressively worse until one of the generations decides, like, I'm fucking done with this, and I'm going to change it, and I'm going to heal it for myself, and I'm going to heal it for the past generations. And so it's just going to progressively get worse. And if we know that, especially before we have children, or as we have children and they're still relatively young, if we can understand that and then show up and do the work, we're actually healing for 7 generations behind us and 7 generations in front, even if they are already earthside. And it's like, that was a big thing for me with my boy. I was like, you know what? I want to do the work for him. And yes, he's still a soul and still got his own thing to do, but I don't want him to feel the way I felt growing up. That's shit. And if I can do something about that as his parent and as his guide, not that I own him, like us parents seem to think sometimes is that they're ours. They're not. We're just the guide. But if I can help in any way for him to be the best young adult, to be independent, not codependent, to have incredible self-worth, to understand what his genius is, or at least guide him in the right direction and know that anything's possible, then that's my role. Yeah. So I'm going to do the work.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, because like I got into the work because I was going through immense pain, and the more that I've got into it, the more that I realized that getting into this work now is going to help. Once I have kids, it's helped my, I guess, family out too, give them different perspectives on things. And it's not just has helped myself a lot, it's helped everyone else around me.
Yeah, because you're the pillar. You're showing others, particularly with your beautiful sister. Oh my God, I love her so much. Like, you are the pillar for her. You get to shine the light and show her what life could look like and what life is worth being like when you show up and do the work. So you're 100% right. It's not just our kids, but it's our network. It's those people that are closest to us. We don't even need to like force feed them. We just need to show up in our truth and do the things and embody that. And then they're like, wow, you're so much different. You're happier, you're lighter, you're this, you're that. I want to do that. And you just get to lead by example.
That's it. And the amazing thing about it is that they, like, especially my sister, she's done it 10 times quicker than I did.
Because you've shown her how.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she had a model of what it looked like because of you. You didn't have a model, so you were like, oh, because that's the same for me. Like, I had no idea. It's taken me 5 years to get to this point because I was just like, I don't know. Like, I had no one to model off. I had to really seek out the people that I desired to be like and do the research and find my tribe. Whereas you've fast forwarded that for her because you've gone and done all that pre-work. And now she's like, I have a model and a frame of what that could be, and I want to do that. And you've gone, well, here's something that works. Here's something that worked. And she's gone, cool. And just followed the path. You've had to make the path.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much just like got the shovel and just went for it. And a lot of it is trial and error, as you probably already know. It's like, this kind of works. And then you look down the track and you're like, no, it didn't work as well as, I guess, this thing and that thing. But in saying that, having all those tools there also helps, I guess I'll say with my sister, because it may not have worked the best for me, but it could work really well for her.
Totally. And that's it. Like, every single person is different. So for what works for me is going to be different for what works for my son or for my friend or for my clients. And that's okay. And the more tools we have, the more we can sort of go, oh, well, this didn't work. How about try this? How about try that? I think when we're the trailblazer, we literally like try and find all these different things, and we build up this toolkit of possibilities of how to look at things differently, how to heal, how to change our perspective. And you get to share that. And that's exactly what you do. And I honor you for that, because you're still so fucking young, and yet you are probably one of the wisest, oldest souls that I know for your age. Like, it just gives me so much faith in humanity. And then I see your sister and she's younger again, and I'm just like, oh, I love this. Like, it just gives so much faith for the fact that, we're stepping into such a beautiful age where our younger people who are coming out of high school and coming into like early adulthood just know themselves and are so willing to lean into the edges and lean into those aspects that make them uncomfortable to be the best version of themselves and to have better lives and to show other people how to do that. Like, it's just magical. And it gives me hope being a mum for that.
I was just talking into this before. It's funny because we're talking about how like the younger generation, how much they know, I guess, compared to the older generation, and how it's just getting all passed along. And then also to speak into that too, is like I've been talking to some of my mates about this stuff, and it's crazy how much stuff they actually do know, but they don't share openly. And I'm like, talking to them, I'm like, you know so much, like you should like start sharing your magic with people, because if you have a gift there, and for some reason society, especially when you're young, you've got to take that, you know, traditional path that a lot of people are getting pushed down. I'm like, if you just trickle it off a little bit, you'll create so much fulfillment in your life.
Totally. And again, that's just, they've probably never seen it done. They don't know how to do it. It's terrifying. And I know, and I can speak into that because, you know, I knew at 15 when I tried to take my own life that I was here to do this. And it's taken me 20 years to get to this point where I'm now speaking my truth. I'm now embodying things. I'm now really leading and inspiring and teaching what I know. Whereas you were fucking brave and you just went, I have my genius. I have all this knowledge and wisdom and I'm going to share it. And it doesn't matter what my age is because the wisdom inside of me and my truth and the knowing is here. And I love your courage to just share that and to inspire others to do that.
And that's been the biggest thing or most fulfilling thing out of it all is seeing how many more younger people that are sharing now. Even though at first for me, for the first, I go year, 6 months to a year, I got a lot of backlash for it. And I guess made fun of a bit for it too. And I was like, you know what, this is what my purpose is. This is what fulfills me. It's going to keep going at it. And then eventually it started to trickle its way down. And I've seen so many other people in my friend group, age group, started to reach out to me. Hey, I'm looking at doing this. And then started doing things. And then a few, like the most fulfilling thing is like having that thank you message of saying, thank you for, you know, sharing the stuff you do because you encouraged me to do my thing.
100%. And that's why we do the work, right? That's why we show up and we do the things and we take the bullets, we take the hits, we take the criticism, we take the backlash, and we take, you know, the model of the world where everyone's like, the amount of times I've been told, go and get a real job. You're failing. You obviously this isn't what you're meant to be doing. You take all that because you actually know, you know it in every ounce of your being that this is what you're meant to do. And you know at one point or another, it's going to just land and it's going to drop. And we inspire along the way. That's
it. 100% agree. And it's having the grit because most people think it's going to be this overnight thing, but it's like, as you're saying, it's been, was it 20 years?
20 years since I had my suicide attempt. And, you know, that night I took a whole heap of pills because I just was done. I wanted the pain to end. I'd been through so much growing up and I wanted the pain to end. So I took all these pills and on the box, I thought it said non-drowsy. I thought it said drowsy. So I thought I was going to take them and I was going to fall asleep and, you know, then whatever happened afterwards, that would happen. And they were non-drowsy. So I was literally up with my thoughts all night. And I was sitting there just saying, like, what am I here to do? Like, why can't you just let me go? And just constantly like having this conversation with God, source, universe, like whomever. I had no idea then. And just saying like, why are you punished? Because I thought it was punishment. Why are you punishing me? Why can't I just go? Why can't I be free? And then I realized that night in all of the rumination of everything I've been through that I had experienced it so I could then share later. So at 15, I knew. And now I'm 35 and I'm finally doing the thing. I mean, I've been doing the things for 5 years, but I've been embodying the things for a year.
Yeah.
Like
and
embodying.
That's like the hardest thing because you can intellectually understand it all, but actually embodying it comes down to a whole different ball game itself. And this is something that I'm starting to do now. It's like, okay, I've got the intellectual understanding of it and now it's starting to embody it. Like one of the biggest things I've been teaching myself for the last couple of weeks is not being attached to the outcome.
Oof, yum. Yes.
And how much is like that's gave me the courage to go do things.
Yeah. And it's such a game changer. Like that thing, you know, that's been something I've been on and off, like really trialing in different areas of my life for probably 3 to 4 years. And when it like really lands, it's like, oh, holy. I think last year is a perfect example of like really letting go of attachments because how much uncertainty happened last year. Lose your job and, you know, the world goes crazy and everything shuts down and you don't know, you know, if you're going to get paid or if you're going to have a job or if you're going to live or like, you know, there was so many uncertainties last year and it was like, really just detach and surrender to whatever's meant to be will be, and whatever life looks like, it will just look like that. So I think last year was such a beautiful lesson for all of us around detachment.
Because that's where it's like the main pillar of how we find freedom is being able to that's it.
Sorry, say that again.
That's a good. I think like one of the main pillars of like that's one of the main pillars of freedom is being able to go with the ebbs and flows of life. And because a quote I really love is like, the only thing that's certain in life is uncertainty.
Yeah, or death and taxes.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that's 100%. And I think one of the 6 human needs is certainty, and the other one's uncertainty. Which is the universal law of polarity. How can one of our needs be certainty and then another one of our needs be uncertainty? It's like complete contradiction, which is, universal law of polarity, of difference, of light and dark, good and bad, uncertainty, certainty.
Because it's weird, because our brains are designed is to predict and all this kind of stuff, and it does such a terrible job at it.
Totally, because it's coming from an old construct.
Yeah.
It's coming from like the matrix, the belief systems of what has been. And the reality is, if that's your belief system, you're just going to keep recreating the only thing you know. And when we actually just let go and we're just like, okay, I surrender. I don't know what life could look like at its best because I've never seen it at its best. And I don't know actually what's possible. So I'm just going to let go and trust that I'm going to be divinely guided to, like for me, I truly believe that we are all infinite and that life is truly magical. So I'm actually really just detaching and really just allowing whatever life could look like, because I have no idea what a magical life looks like, or being an infinite, like Limitless, the movie. Like, I don't know what that looks like because I've never seen it. But if I just detach from, well, I have this goal and I want this, but I also know that could be coming from an old construct. What happens if I could actually have so much more than that? So it's like, yeah, I want this, but I'm also so detached from having that and so open to the possibilities of so much more. And since being in that, life is literally magical. And I'm realizing how infinite we really are when we stop creating from that construct and stop trying to control and create from what we know, as opposed to just being.
Because like we create our futures through our imagination, what we think it should look like, and majority of the time our imagination only can go back to what our past was and only can create from future of that.
Yes, 100%. And that generally it's so limited. It's so limited. Yeah. So we actually just get to really just embody and allow. And I teach this a lot within my sisterhood, with the moms. I'm just like, you know what, just let go. And particularly as women, like we want to control everything. Like we want to know how everything works and where we're going and what we're doing and control the people around us. And it's like, no, just let go. And what happens if, like the what if it could look like this? What if it could be like this? What if you could just let go? What if you didn't attach a story to whatever's happening in your life? What if you didn't attach a meaning to however that person showed up? What if it's actually really easy and not hard the way we've been told? Like, it's just the possibilities of what if is just like, that is a deep surrender of detachment. It's like, what if? Especially when you're ruminating, in this thought process or this thought pattern about that person or that thing, and it's like, oh, it's happening again. It's like, okay, so what if it didn't happen again? What if it happened differently? Okay, how could that look? How could that sound like? What could that feel like? How would they show up differently? How would I show up differently? Like, it just starts to really detangle and deconstruct the possibility of the construct of what it was, the paradigm of what it was. And then you just be in flow and you have to, it's a process. It's a practice of just allowing, stop controlling, be in flow, connecting with the feminine, and just fuck, this is uncomfortable and I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm trusting that I'm divinely guided. Regardless of whether it's good or bad, I'm divinely guided, and whatever will be is actually happening for me.
That's it. And I think it's something we have to realize too, because we spend so much time trying to control the outskirts of everything in our life because we're chasing, because, you know, the reason why we want to accumulate things and have everything look perfect because we're after this feeling inside of us. But realistically, that feeling's already there.
100%. If we actually just stop like trying to look for the next thing or buy the next greatest thing or have the next greatest relationship or have the best job or buy the latest car or whatever the fucking thing is, and we actually just stop and connect in with ourselves and actually look at ourselves in the mirror, like mirror exercises are so powerful to actually stop and just be with yourself and just witness, instead of witnessing all the things that are wrong or bad or that you don't like, it's actually witnessing all the things that you just admire. If you're a mom and, you know, you've got saggy boobs, it's like they provided life. If you've got a tummy you're not so proud of, it's like that, you know, birth and housed a little human. If you've got, you know, arms that are a little bit saggy, it's like, okay, but they have held the people that you love. So it's changing the way you look at things. It's changing the lens in which you look at everything.
It's like changing your lens from the victim to become beneficiaries of life.
Yes, totally. And soon as we change that perspective, stop being the victim and stop looking for all the reasons why we are the victim and start to look at, okay, well, I actually want to be better and I want to have the best life and be the beneficiary of life, of this gift, of the fact that we're human and we've got breath and, you know, we are actually a fucking miracle. Someone said to me yesterday, I don't need a better sign because I'm alive. I don't need a better sign that I'm chosen because I chose myself and I was gifted this body, this vessel, breath, life. That's a fucking miracle. You don't need a better sign than the fact that you're actually alive in a body, breathing life.
Because it's like the chances of being born is like, I think it's 400 trillion to 1 or something along the lines of that. And it's like, just to be born in this particular time of the world, that's even a bigger miracle because of how, like, if you think of it, how easy things are at the moment compared to go, you know, 50, 100 years ago. And now everything's at the touch of our fingers.
Literally.
And it's like, we live in the most, and there's no, I think there was this saying, it's like the least wars that have gone on through this time too. It's been the most peaceful time in history.
Yeah. And we're moving into the age of have moved into the age of Aquarius, which is to be even more peaceful. But it's also just recognizing that when you start to look at that and shift your perspective from victim to, oh, technology is ruining us, it's disconnecting us. And again, that's all just victim. It's all scarcity. It's all lack. It's all negative. And instead just turn around and look at, like, we're having this conversation and we're not in the same room. And we can have this conversation. We can share it with the world. Like, people on the other side of the world can hear this message. How beautiful is that? Like, we have so much at our fingertips and so much to be grateful for, but instead we're looking at it going, it's disconnecting us, it's taking away, it's, people are showing up on social media and not being in their truth. And, it's degrading people and, it's putting so much self-worth issues out there. Well, no, we've always had self-worth issues because we've always had magazines and TV, and it's just a different platform for this era. And if you choose to focus on that, that's exactly what you'll see. But if you're going, sorry.
I was going to say, it's just brought everything more to light now because we're not stuck in our little hometown communities. Now that everyone's sharing everything now, which is fantastic because we can realize, I guess with the self-worth issues, which is something that everyone goes through, now that we have a platform where we can learn about it and build that self, worth up, especially we don't have those people in our community that, that can show us, like, it's online now.
Definitely. And if you don't like what you see online, go and change who you're following.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many incredible people that are showing up online and doing magical things and sharing so much value where you don't actually need to pay for it. So if you don't like what you're seeing, go and change it. Like, you are actually in control of your life. You create your reality. And if you don't like the way your reality looks, go and fucking change something, because we literally have so much we can access online, so much. And I think we're going to see more of that as more stuff that happens in the world continues to happen, at least for the next, I feel like 12 months. There's going to be a lot of stuff where a lot of people are going to have to show up more online. And which means we have more access to much more incredible resources and programs and like conversations and just so much epic stuff literally here. I literally, if I don't want to wear pants and I don't want to wear clothes, I just don't have to. If I don't want to wear makeup, I don't have to. If I don't want to leave my house, I don't have to. Like,
Yeah,
it's so
with
powerful.
living in this, yeah, especially like this time, because like I guess with everything that's happened in the world, it's forced me to do stuff through Zoom and connect in, and I've kept connected in with so many people through, especially through this podcast, through interstate, and I've joined this men's group down in Melbourne, and it's phenomenal the work they're doing and how much, I guess, the everyday bloke is joining in and having these conversations about, I guess, our mental health and, you know, how to inspire each other and having deep conversation in a safe space. And it's amazing to see.
Yeah. And I think having that out there for our men, and just having so much more men show up online in that space, sharing their truth and sharing their heart and sharing their vulnerabilities, more and more men are seeing this, and it's just creating this beautiful ripple. And that's what we get to share. Like, that's the magic of being online. That is the magic. Like, you're right, I grew up in a small country town. I didn't have access to anything like this. Like, it was like church. That was the pinnacle of I don't want to say hierarchy, but like success.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, go to church and be a good person, don't sin. And yet some of the people that I knew that went to church were the biggest sinners. And it's like, that doesn't really work for me. So I didn't really have any other role models to understand. And you know, I'm so grateful for the fact that I chose to come in now, even though I'm a little bit older than probably what I would have wanted. But then that's all perfect too.
I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing to point out too. It doesn't matter when you start. It's
Yeah.
just starting. Like, it's so much magical. Like, I think I went to a networking event on Monday night, and this girl there, she started her business at I think it was 74, 76, which
Yeah.
is like phenomenal. It's like, it doesn't matter what age you're at, you can start.
Totally. And at the end of the day, the only failure is not starting.
Yes.
I truly believe that the only failure in your life between when you were born and when you take your last breath is not doing the thing that lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's allowing that fear to actually consume those worthiness pieces, that construct to always have control over you, as opposed to you taking your power back and saying, you know what, I don't want to live with regrets. I don't want to wake up one day on my deathbed and think, fuck, I wish I did this, this, and this because of whatever reason. You know, one of the things I love to talk about is you're going to get judged regardless of what you do or what you say or how you show up. At least go and get judged for the thing that lights you up and makes you feel amazing.
100% with that.
Yeah.
Perfectly agree. And one of the things that really triggered me to do this podcast was actually witnessing that regret in, I guess, my auntie when she passed away 2 years ago, about now. And then seeing that, and I'm like, I don't want to ever put anyone else through that pain, because it's like, I want to go out and live my life with no regret, that I can go to my deathbed and be like, I'm happy, I'm fine to go today.
Yeah. And when you can be living in the present moment in that space of, I'm just living every day and it's fucking magical. Even if I'm deep in my shit and I'm deep in my shadow and I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed today because I'm like, oh, the energy of the world's hectic. And, you know, like, we still feel the things. Like, I still, like last week, I felt the fear for humanity. I was like, holy shit, this is heavy. And two, knowing that I love being in that. I love feeling that. I love expressing that. I love embodying that. And knowing too, I would still be happy if that was my last week or my last breath, because every single day I'm honoring my truth. Every single day I'm honoring who I am. Every single day I'm showing up and living what's true for me. And I'm sharing that and inspiring others to do the same. And I truly believe there's no good or bad. Everything just is.
Yeah. Just what
No
is what
good or
it is.
bad emotions. There's no good or bad things. Like, unless you're harming people, I think that speaks for itself. But, feeling rage and primal screaming, that's fucking beautiful when it's done in a constructive, intentional way, not at people. So I feel like, good or bad, right or wrong, in your shit, or living just with the depth of joy and play, it's all beautiful when you're embodying the truth and when you know you're worthy of having the best life and you're living it moment to moment.
That's 100%. And I love you point out with the, I guess I'll call it quote unquote bad emotions, and being able to sit with them, and you can still enjoy life being with them. It's a part of being human.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of don't understand that. It's like we get fooled for this happiness trap that we need to be up here all the time. But in reality, our life's like this. Like each day we go through cycles, and abundant different things show up in our life that trigger our emotions in certain ways. And that's all perfectly fine, because you're allowing yourself to be with that emotion, and instead of like thinking you have to be up here.
Totally. And I mean, that I share that because, I used to be the most positive person. So many people used to tell me I had sun constantly shining out of my ass because I was constantly like positive and happy and joyful and playful all the time, because I always thought, I like, just be happy, like always look at the brighter side of life. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, all those types of narratives. And I was never actually allowing myself to be in the uncomfortable. And so I was never actually moving through the things that hurt me or the things that I had pain around. And I was literally just bypassing it all. And then when I realized, I went on a road trip after my business coach and mentor and shaman passed away, and it rocked my world. And I went on a road trip for 3 weeks and actually just immersed myself in the pain. I immersed myself in my grief. And it was the most beautiful, liberating, breathtaking few weeks of my life, because I was actually just every day just moving as if I was in water and I didn't have to be anywhere. And if I felt like crying, I just stopped. I'd pull over and I would bawl my eyes out, and I would journal, and I'd do a video, like a vlog, and then I'd get back on the road, and I'm like, fuck, I feel amazing. And I'd put on a tune, and I'd go and walk go for a hike and see a beautiful waterfall. And like, it was hard, but it was just the most beautiful thing. And so since then, I'm like, oh, what happens if I don't bypass this? What happens if I actually just allow myself to feel this? One, I find that I don't crack the shits or lose my shit over the smallest things anymore, because I actually just deal with my stuff there and then. And if I'm in a space where I have to, like, obviously you can't just lose your shit in the middle of a shopping center or whatever. So sometimes I'm just like, okay, well, I can't deal with this now, but I make a promise and a pact to myself that I'll go back later in the evening when I'm by myself and actually face off with that and allow that to come through. And I've noticed that if I don't do that, it will hit me harder. And I'm like, ooh, I'll do that.
I'm so glad you said that too, because it's like the more that we hang on to it, the more that it shows up in our life in different kind of ways.
Yeah.
And because we're hanging so hard onto it. But then also with you're saying too, it's like amazingly when you let yourself process through it, because you feel so much lighter. You're able to, I guess, feel more joy. And then all the other emotions that so far we're wanting end up coming up afterwards.
100%. And I find that you move through it so much quicker, particularly when you've done a lot of the release work, and then you're kind of not dealing with 35 years of repression. You're just dealing with like today. Oh, this is triggering me. Fuck. As opposed to 35 years of pent up anger, aggression, disappointment, shame, guilt, like all the things. And so it is a process. And for those that are starting that journey, to understand that it is fucking intimidating at first, but also that our unconscious mind, you know, the part of our body that breathes and heals without being told, will always keep us safe and will never give us more than we can handle. And the more we do the work and the more we actually just be with our negative emotions, the easier we can move through them. And just the more like, oh my God, I feel like I remember the first time I released sadness, I felt like I'd had like bags, like weight bags lifted off my shoulders. And I held myself differently. My face showed up differently. I was like, oh my God, and I felt like someone had been sitting on me my whole life, and someone was all of a sudden just like, oh my God, I can breathe. Like, just the power in that. There is nothing to be scared of when we face our emotions, because it's actually fucking so beautiful to feel and experience the after.
And you're able to receive life a lot more and to the fullest potential you can.
100%. I always speak into, for as much pain as we experience equal to, if not more, pleasure. So if we're blocking the pain, we're also blocking the pleasure. We're blocking the beauty, and we're literally stuck in this center point of just existing. And what are we existing for if it's actually so like it's comfortable because we know how it works and we know how life functions in this uncomfortable feeling of existing, but we're not getting any gratification or joy or play, or we're not thriving. It's actually our birthright to have all the things and to experience the fullness of life. That is actually our birthright. It's our birthright to be abundant, and to be abundant in every area of our life, whether it be money, love, joy, play, experiences, all the things. We actually get to have that, but it's a choice.
100%. Because we are here to thrive, not just survive. And, you know, step into, you know, thriving is how we make this world a better place.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like, if we choose to be parents, are we choosing to have and pass down to our kids what existing looks like, what surviving looks like? Or do we choose to show them and embody what it feels like to be abundant and love and joy and thriving in the truth of our experiences?
100%. Yeah. I'll wrap it up on this question. What is the legacy you want to create?
Ooh. Oh, that just gave me serious goosebumps. What's the legacy? For me, there's probably two parts to this. The first part is for my immediate family. So for my son, my legacy is him. My legacy is him being able to show up in his truth and to do whatever he chooses to do, and to know that everything and anything that he does is so fucking okay. And that when he has children, that he gets to embody the things that I've taught him by just leading my truth. So he's my legacy. He's my physical legacy, and I know he'll do beautiful, magical things because he already is at 16. My big legacy, I'm realistically, I'm here to ignite 1 million truth seekers to remember the truth of who they are, to remember the reason why they chose to come in this life, for them to realize that they are so fucking beautiful and so powerful and so infinite that they get to experience the fullness of life. So my legacy is to activate that level of awareness in them that will then trickle on for generations. That's creating history.
100%. I love that. I love the two parts to that, especially the first part. I'm like, that's so true. That's what, it's magical.
He is my legacy. And to be honest, like, he's the reason I'm alive. He's the reason I have chose to fight, to be here. And even early in the years, like, I was a child when I had him. I was a child having a child. I was so unconscious. I was so in my wounding. I really was my mother's fullest expression of her shadow. And I didn't want that life for my son. I didn't want the life that I experienced for him. And so I but I chose to do better because he deserved better. And so he's my reason for living, and he's the reason I do the work that I do, why I love working with mums, so that they too can have that realization that they are so powerful. And even if their role is to be just a mum, it's so much fucking more than that. Like, they leave a legacy just by being a parent.
Perfectly agree with that. 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. That was epic.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me. It's been such a beautiful conversation.
Awesome. Cheers for tuning in today's podcast, guys. Make sure you give it a like, comment, tell me what you think of it, etc., etc. And then also, if you think a friend will value from it, please share it with them. And also, before I let you go, I also have my Re-Engineer Your Mindset program, so you can check that out at my website, which I'll link below. And also, I will have a mini course on breaking patterns out as well, so that will be all in the link below and on my website. But cheers for tuning in today, guys.